Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Weller, storyteller, and I'm so excited to bring you this live today because joining me very soon will be Deb Baldwin. Now, why are we doing this live? Because we want to make sure that we have been professional performers and teachers for all of our life. And because of that, we want to share with you today the excitement of being performers and how public speaking and learning how to perform on a stage can not only increase your ability to function in your career, but also to share some tips that two professional Debs have learned in being performers and on the stage. Welcome, Deb Baldwin
Well,
at
hi,
your
sister. How you doing?
I'm doing so well today. It's great to have another Deb, the two Debs.
I know. At least no one teases us about that name.
It's great to see you today.
You too.
So, Deb, I'd like you to just introduce yourself and tell us about some of the wonderful things that you have done.
Well, first, I want to thank you for bringing me on. That was so kind of you to do. It's so nice to have some support like that. I am a retired drama teacher. I taught for about 38 years, and I directed plays during that time too. Excuse me. And I directed about 350 plays and musicals with adults and children. My favorite, though, are middle school kids, and I taught a lot of middle school students. So, about I guess it's 6 years ago, my husband sweetly said to me, why don't you, now that you're retired, why don't you take your lessons and turn them into a book? And I said, oh, well, who would want a book of this? Nobody would ever want this, Tim. Well, I was kind of wrong. So I didn't do that. I went to Teachers Pay Teachers, and lots of people are familiar with it, but it's similar to the Etsy platform, except it's all teaching materials. So I did that about 6 years ago. And to date, I guess, crazy me, I have like over 400 products, which is like all out of here. Isn't that wild? The things, I'm sure you're the same way. So I have been selling products to teachers all over the world. Some are drama teachers, some are language arts, ESL, reading, new teachers, you name it. And then I am a little nuts and thought, people seem to really love radio theater, but they don't know very much about it. So you see a lot of radio theater scripts, but no one really knows how to teach it. Well, I taught that in one middle school for 13 years. And how I came upon teaching it was I realized that it was a pre-elective class, which means everybody's in there. And there's a whole lot of kids who are reluctant and are disengaged. So I thought, well, heck, how am I going to get these kids to do these traditional drama lessons? I switched gears and I went a different direction, and I did everything that was non-threatening, and lots of group performances, so nobody was singled out. But then through that, I went to radio theater because I'd been in radio theater, and I thought, I think this is probably the best, and it caught on. My reluctant students loved it. My students with learning challenges loved it. Uh, the ELL kids could do it too. And so I thought, well, okay, so let's turn it into a book. And so that's what I've done in the last 2 years. Ta-da!
Oh my gosh, just that?
Yeah.
Well, I applaud you, Deb, because I too, like you, have been an educator for the past 35 years, and I've been performing for over 44
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And in so doing, through storytelling and teaching children and adults to stand on a stage to learn how to tell that story with expression and all the parts that come with being on theater as well, just like you, I discovered that my autistic kids would get up and perform. My
Mm-hmm.
very shy English language learners would get up and
Right.
perform after a lot of cajoling and games, like you said,
Right.
to help them feel comfortable, the improvisational work that it takes to help someone feel comfortable on the stage.
Well, exactly.
It has been, what can I say other than, do you realize that everyone that the most important skill you can have, even in your career, is being able to go on a stage. Now, that could mean a business meeting, it could mean standing up in front of a small group and speak, doing your presentation. But we know that it is also the hardest thing for a lot of people to do.
Oh, exactly.
So, Deb, what would be your tips for helping people to feel comfortable when they have to give a presentation or even when they have to speak in front of a small group? What would you say are some things that could help them?
Well, those are really good questions. And in fact, someone asked me recently, what do you do about stage fright?
Yeah.
And well, I prepare my students and my cast so that they are so comfortable up there that they have no problem. And they've practiced and they've practiced and practiced. So it's almost second nature for them. And I also suggest that they maybe practice their lines in front of the dog. Even the dog is an audience, even if he's over there half asleep. Or maybe your big sister, if she promises to be quiet, not say anything. Or your mom. You make mom promise not to say anything. But I find that if you have enough rehearsal, you won't be as worried about it as you think. And that's about it. Also, it takes a lot of chutzpah to even consider standing in front of people. It is not a weakness if you carry a script, if you're telling, if you need to get information across to at a board meeting. There's nothing wrong with that. We all start somewhere. We all have certain talents. Do not ask me to bowl. I am terrible. I mean, people go, oh, she can do everything. Oh no,
I'm a gutter ball girl.
Oh, right. Yeah, or I'm not real whippy at math, but I do my math my own way and it seems to work. But this is just the thing I do. I can't imagine standing up there and dribbling a ball and putting it in a basket. How on earth do you do that? That's so impressive. So once people understand that, you need to practice, and you're okay that you're just learning initially. And the more you do it, like you and I, the more we're online, the more I write, the more I do, you just get more comfortable with whatever it is. And I really challenge people that are adults, especially over 30, to keep growing and keep learning, however you need to do that. And it doesn't need to be in the area that you've learned in. It could be that maybe you taught math, but now you'd like to see how you could work drama into your classroom. Well, we don't have to drop your math to do that. Your students can integrate drama right into the math or drama right into science. It is so easy. And you and I are big proponents of the arts anyway. And the arts make it effortless. They don't even know they're learning. It's just, it's transformational. And that's why I really believe in it so much. And I hope other people do too.
And I think when we incorporate the performing arts into whatever we're teaching or in our careers by using the techniques of performing arts, gain the engagement. That's the key, the engagement of whatever audience you are performing to or presenting to.
Right.
And when you stand up there, we all know everybody gets that jitters, like you mentioned. And I teach people how to take deep breathing exercises and that practice is what that confidence comes from. If you practice that, you've got your lines down, you know where your story is going to. For me, I always memorize the first 2 lines of my story and the ending so I know where I'm going. But I have that story so ingrained in me, I can envision it while I'm on that stage.
Oh, exactly. And I'm glad you said that you practice.
Yeah.
People need to know that you still practice.
Always.
People need to know that if I go on stage, I have note cards that I have those lines and I practice and practice them. It isn't something that we just zip up there. I look at, we follow the Chiefs because we're here near Kansas City, and those guys are out there practicing and practicing and practicing. So I think it's important that everybody remember that. And this is just another skill you just need to work at. That's all.
Absolutely. And it's amazing how I still get those little jitters sometimes when I perform. I'll be sweating on my armpits, But I think that's good because it helps me to realize that, hey, I want to do a good job.
That's right.
I want to connect with my audience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. If you can learn to concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else asked this of me recently. I said, well, concentration was the first thing they taught us in college and acting. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, after a while, because I came from a little bitty high school in Emporia, Kansas, and I didn't know much yet, which was really funny. My husband and I were talking about it. He said, were you probably the least experienced? I said, yes. He goes, but by the end, you had all the leads. I said, well, yeah, but that's because I'm such I just push. I'm such a product driven and high achiever.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm trusting you to tell me how to do this. So but I always find that if you would just learn to concentrate and stay in the moment and not think about what's going on afterwards or why that person got up to get a drink of water, or you just have to focus. And once you focus, it becomes much easier to do.
We have a question here today. It says, how do you find receptive audiences? Is it something we can do? So that's, I think, a good question for us, because like you found being in the theater, I'm a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of promotion, self-promotion, mm-hmm. to go out there. If you're doing a new show, if you're at the high school, you're going to have a natural audience. But if you're right. going out into your community, you're going to have to pull the strings with everybody you know to get those playbills out there, to get the advertisement. I am president of the Florida Storytelling Association. We have a Florida Storytelling Festival every year at the end of January. And we have to promote it here on our social media. We have to promote it in the communities where we are making inroads with, going to the Chamber of Commerce, going to the local theater groups, going to the libraries,
right.
and reaching out. So I always say, I don't know if you'll agree, but I kind of draw a little circle around me, Deborah Weller, and then reaching out to my community, the immediate community
right.
that I am in.
Right.
And I think that really helps. When I'm promoting my business, some people say, well, what's storytelling? Do you just read a book? And I say, no, I bring the story alive. I have written material, but I'm all the actors, I'm all the characters, mm-hmm. and I bring it alive. And not everybody understands that in this community. And our storytelling community, we deal with that a lot. Oh, you're just going to come and read to us?
Yes.
And so
people are the same way. Recently someone said, well, what's the difference between readers theater and radio theater? And I'm going,
nice.
Well, duh. And I thought, he doesn't know. And I thought, okay. So I'll get it straight. I mean, it's straight in my mm-hmm. head. But when I was able to explain to her, and then how she could use it in her classroom to teach a particular concept, it was like, eureka. Oh, I see. And I agree with you. We both of us do a lot of, I do a lot of marketing. And with the book, I did hire someone to do this, but I, of course, expected to do a lot on my own. And nice people like you have said, I would like to talk about your book. And so that's been kind of people. But that's just 80% of my time is spent marketing. 20% of the time I get to create new products, which is heaven.
Yeah, the creative process.
It's heaven. It's so much fun. I told my husband today, I didn't know I started this product. I must say once a week. When did I start this one? I don't know. I don't either. Oh my gosh, look how much is here.
Well, I just have been creating about 5 new programs because I work for a preschool 4 times a month.
Right.
And try to work with their themes, so that I had to incorporate all their summer themes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm spending all this time finding the stories, and because it's preschool, I add a lot of music and fingerprints to it because of the nature of the audience. Right. But anytime I'm preparing a story for performance, I do so much research to get it there. And Deb,
you have people know that, Deb, about you. They probably think you just get up there and pull it out of your pocket. And I know that's not true. I know you're super conscientious. I know you well enough to know you're very organized. You like things to go well. You plan out everything. That's the mark of a really wonderful elementary teacher. I can tell you that much. But also, I just know that much about you to know that she won't do a shoddy job. I promise you. She will give you the best she's got at that particular moment. And she cares very much that you enjoy what she's done for you. I know that.
Well, thank you. And I know that that's how you work too, because you're proud of what you do, but you also want to give the audience, you just want to give the audience the best experience. Now, do you have a copy of your book to hold
I
up for us? Oh, well,
I
let's
do.
do it.
Well, you keep
Promo, girl,
talking. I'll
promo.
go get the book because see, I'm so bad at this.
And while she's getting her book, so here's where we are right now. Deb's getting her brand new book. I can't wait for you to see it. Now, you might think, oh, well, maybe, I'm not a teacher. How would I use this? Well, Deb can share with you how it could be used in a lot of different ways, even in your business, to create the scripts you need for doing your marketing and your promos.
Well, ta-da,
Yay!
ta-da,
Bravo,
is,
bravo.
I wanted it to be school bus yellow, and I said to the company, so school bus yellow. And they're like, what? Oh, you're not in teaching. You tell that to any teacher. Or oh, I know school bus yellow. That's no problem. But that was kind of funny to say to them. It is 10 chapters about from rationale all the way through performance time to help anybody who wants to learn how to do this in a community theater, at their library, at their church, and of course at schools. And there's a chapter on integrating drama integrating drama into science and language arts and reading and social studies with the use of AI, which is brilliant. We wouldn't have had that a year ago, so that was fun. There's a chapter on amplification, how to amplify this. That's a big problem. People don't know how to do that. How do you direct it? Well, it is different, folks, than directing a play. And then the very end of it is a 3-week unit I have for a teacher to teach radio theater. And there's someone approached me recently about large quantities of this book, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, see, oh, really? Oh, okay. So, so I'm obviously hit on something people are looking for, but it's just really in its infancy as far as the marketing goes. I think ask me next summer and I'll say, yeah, we're really rolling, but it's starting to sell, and people like you are bringing me on, and people are asking by email about this book. And so that's wonderful. So I'm real pleased for
Yes.
it.
And tell us where your book is available that people could look for it.
For sure, it's on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
It comes in ebook, it comes in paperback. That would be the one I suggest because you need to be able to write in it. Or you can get the hardback if you're hard on books. But I really suggest people get the paperback because at the end of each chapter is a reflection. So a teacher can reflect about what worked, what didn't. What would I do differently next time? Did that game work? Did that particular script work? Did that procedure, do I need to do the procedure in a different order? So it gives you time to kind of plan, not just plan it out, but kind of ponder as you go along. You could read it in a night. I say, read it tonight and use it tomorrow, or you could read it over the summer and it'll be pleasant, I promise you. And, you can get it at Amazon, and pretty soon I think you'll be able to get it at Barnes & Noble and places like that. We just haven't hooked that up quite yet.
Okay, well, Deb, that's just amazing. And I know that when I use Reader's Theater in my storytelling training, I've done that before, because sometimes children starting out just need that script before they can jump off into the next step of performing without script.
Oh, for sure.
And I think it's a very pleasant way to engage children in the classroom because everybody can feel successful. They've got something to hold. They've got it there. And then we teach them not to deliver it in the monotone voice, like once there was a mouse who lived in the jungle. And they teach them about the aspects of performing, even though they might be using script.
Right. And I know people said, well, do you teach acting to middle school? Well, yes, I do, but it's hidden. It isn't. And now we'll do a monologue. Oh my gosh, you're in 6th or 7th grade and you've never done this before. I would have been a wreck, and I probably was. And duets, I don't work that way, but I'll put you in a group. You'll get to say a couple of lines in a group. You might memorize those lines. It might be something that you improv'd for the situation. There are so many ways to work around it. And I really challenge drama teachers to think outside that box and think of, I know you're having trouble. I know they're having trouble with them. But you need to find another way. You cannot they're trying to tell you that what you're doing with them isn't working. So let's just try and let's teach it, but in a different way. And that's part of what I'm all about.
And when I do my storytelling training for both adults and children, I use a lot of partner work first to help them feel comfortable.
Right.
And
Right.
also to learn that in their group. Just this week, I had an amazing experience, Deb. I was working with foster care teens
Oh, neat.
career academy. And my goal was to teach them in 2 hours. Whew, so little time. How to use public speaking to develop their superpower story that they can use if they're interviewed for a scholarship or if they're interviewed for a job. And I
that's wonderful.
in a short time for them to get a story. Well, I gave them a little script kind of just to fill in as a basic guideline.
Good idea.
And they practiced with a partner, just get comfortable.
Right.
Now, we hadn't met these kids other than the day before, so we had to establish that it was a safe place. That's the number one thing.
Yep.
For any teacher, creating your classroom as a safe place for your students. And what happened, the gift that happened, because I shared my trauma-filled story of my youth with them because I needed to connect with them.
Yep.
And these amazing teens, I get a little teary-eyed because they shared some of the most heartbreaking stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would like to form a group of these children going out and being motivational speakers to help the other kids in foster care, high school, wherever, to see that in each of these stories, they talked about their trauma, but they talked about their hope.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It was powerful. So I can see, like using radio theater, anything like this, that we can help kids, especially our trauma-based kids, to deal with some of this. And our trauma-based adults, we're all out there to overcome some of the difficulties and or the fears that we face. Now, we have a question here from my friend Angela, who does lots of lives on Instagram. She asked, she said her daughter is graduating as a performing arts major in the fall. And she asked us if we had any advice for a new teacher. Buy your book, of course, but what would be some advice you might think about giving to a brand new teacher on how to engage their students and to get the kids going where they love what they're doing? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Number one, you want to play drama games with them and work the game into something that you're teaching. So if you're going to teach tableau, you might do statues ahead of it so that it just seamlessly moves into it. I stay away from improvisation because they're scared to death of it. Stay away from monologues and duets till maybe second semester at the end. I do lots of little things, but mostly through a game at the beginning for like 15 to 20 minutes, then into the lesson, then the application. Then we're going to go back through it and kind of do a summary of it and maybe a cool down at the end. I suggest, well, it sounds ridiculous, but I really can't help people if they're willing to look into my store, Drama Mama Speaks at Teachers Pay Teachers. You'll find me there, or you'll find my blog online too, and it will send you there. All these lessons for new teachers, especially. In fact, Deb, you'll appreciate this. Last year, a lady said, I'm desperate. I went in to interview for a math job, but I'm a science teacher. They gave me drama. And I really need the job, and I don't know a thing. I went, okay. Actually, I'm really glad you came to me because I've never had that kind of challenge. And I never heard back, so I guess she was okay. But I always tell people, take it easy as you begin. And also adjust, and analyze. And it will, you and I know, it takes a little, it'll take you 3 years, really, to get a real run of what you're doing. And that's okay. And know that you're successful as long as you're willing to learn at anything you do. So as long as you're willing to learn, then you're going to be successful. So I just learned today that I cannot change the theme on my word blog, my blog. I'm going to hire someone to do that. I can't do it.
Yes. And I find, with young teachers, just it's the same as when you are trying to learn a story or you're doing a performance, practicing, trying, like you said, trying this, trying that, but don't beat yourself
Oh, no.
up.
No.
Make your classroom as welcoming and inclusive as you can. If I were a brand new music teacher, I would go in and get the kids doing community sing for a while
Yeah.
until they realize. Then you can add the various musical notations and learning about music and
Right.
learning music professionals, and start with some of their favorite songs,
Right.
that they hear, their favorite artist, Taylor
Oh,
Swift,
yeah.
kind of music that they can dance to
Yeah.
and enjoy. And also, the same applies for when in musical groups, getting on that stage and singing. I've sung a lot, and I'll get that cut my throat where like it just won't open up because I'm so
Right.
tense. And that storytelling, theater, our voice. And so we have to help our children with the rudiments and the basics of
Right.
being on a stage and projecting our voices, either in singing or in speaking, and playing those games that help them feel
Because it's
comfortable.
relaxed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. My husband was a band
Ah,
director, and he composes. He's composing warm-ups for a band he works with here, a big community band. And we were talking about them, and he wants to do some on. Well, since we're in Kansas, he thought he'd do Home on the Range and Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And he said, but those others I was talking about, yeah, I'm not doing that right now. That'll scare them half to death. And these are adults who play all the time. And I thought, isn't that wild? He knows what he has to do with them. That's the mark of a good teacher. You and I know we have to simplify it. So another one would be I had to figure out what's a domain. So I'm sitting at the table going, okay, I think it's kind of like a private alley. And the alley goes to your house only. And the only way you and my husband's going, spoken as a true teacher. That's just the way I learned to do things. But I really want to encourage people to continue to learn. That's what keeps you alive. That's what keeps your brain alive.
mm-hmm.
And whenever you hear, like right now, because of D-Day, you're hearing from these wonderful veterans, and they're just as alert, and it's like it was yesterday for them, but you can tell they're very bright. They're like 104 years old. 104 years old. That's incredible. But it's because they don't just sit around
Mm-hmm.
and twiddle their thumbs. They are active, they are learning, they're reading, they're like they're picking new material, like me, looking at something going, well, that would be a good story to dramatize. Maybe I should do that. So that's kind of the name of my life. So
Mm-hmm. Well, Deb, I really appreciate that we could get together today, and I hope all of you will follow Deb. This live will be on Deb's Storyteller. You'll find it there so you can share it with other people, and then it'll also appear on Drama Mama Speaks
yeah,
feed,
after I get it from
because,
you.
yeah, we will collaborate on that, and you can review it. As I know some people, we thank all our listeners who joined us today. And Deb, do you have any closing remarks or things, self promotion that you want to do?
You know what I would tell people? Please feel free on Instagram. It will tell you how to connect with me. You can do that anytime. I'm very willing to advise anybody or mentor anybody in anything that has to do with theater, theater education, musicals, any of that. I do that for people all the time. Just ask me for my opinion. You're more than welcome to ask.
I'm glad you gave that invitation. And for myself, too, as Deborah Weller, storyteller and public speaking coach, I also invite you to get in touch if you need help. And the two of us can offer you all kinds of great advice and coaching to assist you in becoming better at what you do. And the basic thing is helping you to feel successful. So I thank you for joining us today. And I thank you, Deb. Deb and I have been on Instagram now since probably 2020,
I
right? When we were
guess.
all jumping on, and maybe a little before that. but I think we became more serious about marketing our businesses at about that time.
Mhm.
And since then, Deb's exploded also on the other sites that she has, her Teacher Pay Teachers, and now with her books. So she's awesome. And I hope you'll follow her and check her out. And we appreciate you being here today. Watch the whole thing. If you came in at the end now, you can watch the whole thing on replay. So thank you, Deb.
Mhm.
And thank you, everyone who joined us today.
Thank you.
Bye.